Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. 10 days from now, we're coming up on a very important anniversary. January 1st, 2020 will mark 20 years since the end of the Earth. In 1989, the UN warned that we only had until the year 2000 to save the planet from global warming. San Jose Mercury News, June 30th, 1989. Grim forecast. A senior environmental official at the United Nations, Noel Brown, says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if global warming is not reversed by the year 2000. Coastal flooding and crop failures would create an exodus of eco-refugees, threatening political chaos, said Brown, director of the New York office of the UN Environment Program. He said governments have a 10-year window of opportunity to solve the greenhouse effect. I don't remember us solving the greenhouse effect, so the world must have ended 20 years ago. And if global warming wasn't bad enough for the year 2000, we also had Y2K to deal with. February 23, 1999, the Carson City Fire Department says people should be prepared for the Y2K bug, much like people prepare for an earthquake. Here's what the department recommends. Prepare your home. Identify the warmest area of your home. Have extra wood for the fireplace. I find this a little confusing because global warming was going to make it very hot in the year 2000. So what do we need extra wood for the fireplace for? Well, apparently we made it past January 1st, 2000. And by March of that year, experts announced that snowfalls are now just a thing of the past. I'm not convinced that snow was actually a thing of the past in England because 3 years later I got caught in a huge blizzard on Robbie Burns night in Cambridge. The M11 motorway got shut down because of that blizzard. Based on the advice of government scientists who told them that snow was a thing of the past, the UK government had quit buying grit for the roads. So the next year, in 2004, experts changed their tune. Britain will be Siberian in less than 20 years. A secret report suppressed by U.S. defense chiefs and obtained by The Guardian warns that major European cities will be sunk beneath rising seas as Britain is plunged into a Siberian climate by 2020. Nuclear conflict, megadroughts, famine, and widespread rioting will erupt across the world. Well, that is really scary. Experts say all these terrible things are going to happen sometime in the next 10 days. And just a few weeks later, the chief government scientist of the UK said that we're all going to have to flee to Antarctica. That's a pretty amazing concept, the idea of fleeing the Siberian climate of Britain to move to Antarctica. And the following year, in 2005, the United Nations warned that we're going to have 50 million global warming refugees by the year 2010. This doesn't really seem like it should be a problem, though, because there's lots of empty space near the South Pole. And a few months later, in January 2006, Al Gore said we only had 10 years to save the planet from global warming. We're having a true planetary emergency. He said, if you accept the truth of that, then nothing else really matters. Al Gore won the Nobel Prize for his brilliant thinking and said that by 2014 the polar ice cap may disappear. The Guardian was a little bit more conservative, however, and they said we wouldn't have an ice-free Arctic and methane catastrophe until the year 2015. And here's some more bad news. Sometime in the next 10 days, the last glaciers in Glacier National Park are going to melt. And if all of these horrible things aren't bad enough, in 1971, NASA's leading climate scientists said we're going to have an ice age in the next 50 years. So the next ice age is going to arrive in just over a year, and it says it right there in the Washington Post. But I've got more bad news to report. 85 years ago, scientists said that melting icebergs were going to engulf the world and sea level would be raised 150 feet. Just think of all of that oceanfront property in Arizona. But all of this is probably moot because in 1970, Stanford University's leading expert on population said that America will be subject to water rationing by 1974 and food rationing by 1980. And apparently also the oceans have been dead since at least 1980. It is important for us to listen to the experts. U.S. defense chiefs say that in the next 10 days, Britain will be plunged into a Siberian climate, nuclear conflict, megadroughts, famine, and widespread rioting will erupt across the world. So forget your New Year's plans and start digging your bunker. If some of this information appears to be contradictory to you, that's simply because you lack the proper qualifications. Only brilliant scientists who are actively involved in the peer review process are capable of fully understanding all of these devastating implications. And as you make your preparations for the apocalypse 10 days from now, make sure and visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.